Hi there, this is Jayshree here again from Mobi Bootcamp. So in this lesson, we'll get our hands dirty with Colab. So what exactly is Colab? Colab stands for Collaboratory, which is a cloud-based system provided by Google for running your IPython notebook. So let's invoke this Colab and learn a little bit more about it. You can go to Colab by invoking colab.research.google.com, and as soon as you do that, you will get this pop-up which will allow you to open a IPython notebook. So you can click on this new Python 3 notebook here. Of course, you have a choice between 3 and 2, but we are going to use 3 in this lesson. So we'll click on 3, which will open up a ipynb file for you. So as you can see, the extension of this file is .ipynb, which stands for Jupyter Notebook. Although there are many notebook providers in the market today, Jupyter notebooks are really popular compared to others. And Google has hosted a full-fledged Jupyter notebook with all its available libraries, popular libraries like NumPy, Pandas, Seaborn, etc. Are already there in this Colab environment. So you really don't have to download the most commonly used packages when you're using a Colab. So that's the biggest advantage here. So as you can see here, the file name turns out to be untitled 3. So you can rename that to whatever you want. And since we are going to be doing the first concept in our course, we are going to name this as first concept. So first concept.ipynb. And again, ipynb is a notebook extension, particularly Jupyter notebook extension. So the next thing that you see here, this piece that you see here is the code block. You can write your code in here. So let's write a simple code. And we'll take the simple example, which is given on this page for learning the first concept. So let's say that you're tasked to find the mean of 3 numbers. Let's say the 3 numbers are a equal to 15, b equal to 35, and c equal to 55. And the way you calculate the mean of these 3 numbers would be mean equal to a plus b plus c divided by 3, which turns out to be 35. And supposing if you want to do this calculation, you could potentially use your mental math, or you might even jot it down on a piece of paper and derive it. But if you're asked to do using Python, then how would you do that in Colab? Let's take a look. So we go back to the Colab page here, and now let's type in a equal to 15, b equal to 35, and c equal to 55. Now we want to find the mean of this. So that would be a plus b plus c. I put a parenthesis so that we can have the whole thing divided by 3 to get the mean. Now this is simple algebra, as you can see. Simple algebra is all that is needed for this kind of a program on Python. So that's why Python is very, very popular, because it's very intuitive and it's easy to understand. And if you know basic algebra, it is just the basic algebra that we are using here. And this is a full-fledged Python program. So now let's run this program. The way you can run this program on Colab are twofolds. One is you can use this arrow here, which will allow that code block to run. So this whole code block that you see here is being run now, and you can see that the output is 35.0. You can also run this code block using the keyboard keys, and in this case it would be control and return to run this code block, or you can also use shift and return to run this code block. So if you, however, use shift and return, you see that there is another code block that got created after running this code block. So that's the difference between control and return and shift and return commands. So control and return will just run this code block and stays right there, whereas shift and return runs this code block and it moves to the next block if there is a block. If there is no other block, it actually creates a block. So in this case, it created a block because we did not have another block. Now, since we don't want this block, let's go ahead and delete it. So for that, you just click on this dots here and you will get this delete cell. Select that, and that block is gone. So what we've done so far is actually created a code cell, and then we input a few Python statements, and then we executed those statements by running that code block using this arrow key. Or we also use the other 2 methods, which is using control and return or shift and return. Any one of the 3 ways you can use to run a code cell. What about the text cell? So if you see here, the menu options are actually code and text, which we never used so far. So let's go ahead and click on this text so that we can get a text cell. So when you click on that text cell, you get another block, and here you can input the description or the story part of your code. So typically any type of code that we write has the code, which is pure code, which the computer understands, parses, and runs that as a program. And then we have another bunch of statements that we put as a comment, which we ourselves want to read back at a later point of time maybe, or we want to explain what we are trying to do for other programmers. So typically that used to go as a comment. Most of the programming languages have some way that you can define a comment. In Jupyter Lab, you can use this text cell to probably put comments or maybe a little bit more explanation as to what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do and how you're trying to do. All those things can go in the text block. So let's write our narrative here. And since this is the first concept and the first program, let's put some header which says that. So I'm going to write that as first concept program. And since I want to make this as a header, I'm going to choose that and use this editor to ensure that I get the header. So when you do that, you see two portions here for this text cell, one on the left and one on the right. And what you see on the left is actually a markdown markup of your selection. So since I selected T here, it created a markdown markup for the title. And since I clicked it once, it has one hash, which stands for the top level title. So if you click it again, you'll get two hashes, and this title size became smaller because this is level 2 header. Now if you click on that again, you will get three hashes, and again the title size became even more smaller because it is a level 3 header. So since I want a top level header, let me click this again. Now it removed everything, and now once again, and I get the top level header. Now I want to put some more description for my code. So let me write my description. This is a test program to show how Colab works. So that is my description of what I'm trying to do. Now, do you see a problem here though? This has to go on the top, and then the code has to come. Do you agree with me? So let's do that. To do that, you have convenient menu options here. I'll select this up arrow, and now the text cell goes on the top and the code cell comes in the bottom. And now if you want to edit this text cell, just double click it. That opens this markdown portion again. And now you can add more things here, more description. And once you've done with the description, use shift and return so that part of the markdown is parsed and displayed to you on the browser. Note that whatever you put in the text cell is not executed on the Python kernel. It's only displayed on the browser. So this whole thing is only displayed on the browser, and it is not executed on the Python kernel. So whatever is there in the code cell is the only one which gets executed on the Python kernel. Do go ahead and take a look at all these other menu options that you have. You can choose file, and then you can save a copy in Drive. You can also save a copy in GitHub. And you can also just save once in a while. Even though it saves automatically, it's also a good idea for you to save once in a while when you have a working code. If you want to share your work with others, then you can click on this share. When you click on the share, you have this pop-up which comes up. Now you can enter individual email IDs of the people to whom you want to share with, and then click done. If you want to share it with everybody on the internet, then you click this advanced tab, and that takes you to this screen. Here you can click on this change, and either you can make it public on the web where anyone on the internet can find and access. So if you choose this, that's what happens. Or if you click on this, then anybody with the link is able to access. For both of these, no sign-in is required on the Google server. And now once you save this, you will get this link, and you can share this link with anybody. Anybody who gets this link will be able to open your notebook file. And once they open your notebook file, then they can make a copy of that, and then they can run the same program. So that concludes this lesson on Colab. Feel free to play around with all the other menu options that you see on this page. Nothing is going to happen. Don't worry, you're not going to crash. Nothing is going to happen to anything. So do play around with it and get yourself familiarized with the many different things that you can do with the Colab. I'll be showing more of these features as we dig deeper into the many lessons. Bye.